Nobody trusted her. Not the commanders, not the soldiers beside her, and certainly not the world that had already written her off as too inexperienced, too fragile, too slow. So when they shoved an old, rusty rifle into her hands, one that rattled when she breathed and jammed if dust even touched it, they expected her to fail. They expected her to hide behind the others. But what happened next left the entire battlefield frozen, as if time itself refused to move until they understood what she truly was capable of. The rusty rifle, the morning, had begun with the trembling roar of distant artillery, the type of sound that crawls under your skin long before it reaches your ears. The unit was preparing for a brutal push toward the enemy line, and every soldier was being handed the best weapons available: sleek rifles, polished scopes, and freshly oiled chambers. Everyone except her. Elara had always been treated as an outsider. She was new, young, and too quiet for most people's comfort. The others spoke with loud confidence, while she listened with silent intensity. She didn't brag about her training scores or her survival results. Even though she consistently outperformed most of them, she didn't boast about the choices she'd made, like the one that brought her here, far from home, after losing her father to the same conflict years ago. So when Sergeant Kane tossed her an old, clanking rifle pulled from the back of the supply crate, the others smirked. The weapon was scratched, dull, and rust had crept along the bolt like a spreading bruise. "Make do with that," Kane muttered. "If it fires at all, consider yourself lucky." A ripple of laughter passed through the squad, but Elara didn't respond. She simply inspected the weapon. Its weight, its balance, its flaws. She wiped the small flakes of rust off the barrel, gently tested the trigger, then snapped the latch of her helmet into place with the calm of someone who had seen worse. The platoon moved out, pushing through tall grass and dense patches of broken trees. The enemy outpost ahead was heavily guarded. Everyone braced themselves, their clean rifles raised, their breaths sharpened by anxiety. But Elara felt different. She felt strangely steady, as if the weight of that rusted rifle had grounded her more than any polished weapon could. Each step she took felt deliberate, purposeful, leading her toward something no one else had yet realized. The first shots came unexpectedly. Sharp, vicious bursts of gunfire raining from a hidden ridge. Men dove for cover. Ammunition whistled past their helmets. Dust exploded into the air like silent thunder. Chaos erupted instantly. The squad was pinned down, their positions compromised, their communication scrambled. The enemy had elevation and numbers. The ground shook from mortar blasts, and fear began spreading through the ranks like wildfire. Sergeant Kane tried to order a counterattack, but every soldier was trapped behind cover, unable to lift their heads without a bullet finding them. Everyone except Elara. She crouched behind a fallen tree, eyes scanning the surroundings, listening to the rhythm of the gunfire, mapping the angles. The rusty rifle lay across her knees, humble, unimpressive, almost pitiful. But in her hands, it felt alive. She inhaled deeply, remembering her father's voice from years ago, teaching her how to breathe through fear rather than around it. And then she rose. Not recklessly, not blindly, but with purpose. Slow, controlled, like a shadow taking shape under the sun. Her squad mates yelled for her to get down, but she didn't hear them. Her heartbeat seemed to align with the pulse of the battlefield, steady and unbroken. The rusty rifle snapped to her shoulder. A single shot cracked through the air. Then another, and another. Each bullet found its mark, not by luck, not by chance, but through a clarity she'd carried in her veins her whole life. Within seconds, enemy fire began to thin. The ridge quieted. Even the wind seemed to hush itself. One of the soldiers behind her whispered, "No way, how is she doing that with that gun?" But they hadn't seen what she had seen. They didn't understand that a weapon's worth meant nothing without the hands that wielded it. And Elara was just getting started. Seconds that changed everything. The battlefield had shifted. The enemy, startled by the sudden precision coming from an angle they had completely overlooked, tried to reorganize. But Elara moved faster. She switched positions, sliding behind debris, fallen roots, and splintered rocks with the fluidity of someone dancing in a world only she could see. Her squad watched in disbelief as she advanced alone, slipping between shadows, her rusty rifle firing in clean, timed bursts. Every shot echoed with the confidence her squadmates lacked. Every movement resembled someone who had trained her whole life for this single moment. The enemy panicked. They fired blindly, unsure where she would appear next. She had become a phantom, a whisper of danger that kept slipping through their defenses. Her squad began to rise from cover, emboldened by her courage. But the moment that stunned them most came when the enemy's heavy machine gun opened fire. Its deafening roar slicing through the air. A weapon like that could wipe out her entire team in seconds. Elara didn't flinch. Instead, she sprinted forward, sliding across gravel as the machine gun tore through the earth behind her. Sparks flew. Dirt exploded. Shrapnel grazed her shoulder. But she kept moving, weaving through the storm of bullets as if they were no more than raindrops. Then she dropped to one knee, exhaled slowly, and fired a single shot. 1. The machine gun fell silent. Her squad stared, stunned, the entire field suddenly at peace. Within the next 30 seconds, Elara cleared the remaining threats. Methodically, fearlessly, and with a precision that defied everything they believed about her. When the final enemy soldier fell, the wind returned, blowing softly across the scorched ground. The battlefield was quiet. And in that silence, the squad finally understood that they hadn't been staring at a rookie, or a misfit, or someone undeserving of their respect. They had been staring at a warrior. Sergeant Kane approached her slowly, disbelief carved into every line on his face. He looked at the rusty rifle in her hands, then back at her, eyes wide, breath uneven. "Lara," he whispered. "Where did you learn to do that?" She wiped the dirt from her cheek, her breathing steady. "My father taught me many years ago," she said softly. "He said the weapon doesn't make the soldier. The heart does." The squad fell silent. For the first time, they truly saw her. Not as the quiet girl who stood alone. Not as the recruit who didn't fit in. Not as the soldier with the worst weapon in the field, but as the reason they were all still alive. And when word of what she'd done reached command later that night, a new understanding spread through the ranks. Sometimes, the ones you underestimate the most are the ones who save the world when it matters.